And yes, I was very, very happy to be doing my theater homework this week. As I said at the top of the show, I was going to be talking about A Tale of Two Cities, but then I had the opportunity to actually talk to the person who wrote it. The lyrics, the book, and the music, all three were created by Jill Santoriello, who is now a Broadway authoress, if that's the correct word. I guess she can tell me the word that she prefers, because Jill Santoriello is on the phone with us in the neighborhood. Hello, Jill.
Hello, Dave.
How are you doing? How's your second week since opening on Broadway been?
It's pretty great. It's been really wonderful. The audiences have been amazing.
I said that too. I mean, the critics said one thing, the audiences seem to be saying something very, very different, and that must be really, really gratifying.
Yeah, we're very grateful for that. The audiences have just been loving the show, and that's who you do it for. So, regardless of what critics said, and we had some supporters among the critical ranks as well, but the audiences are really, why you do this, and they've just been embracing the show and really taking it to heart, so we're very grateful for that.
Now, it usually takes a pretty long time for a new show to come to Broadway.
And we were no exception.
Well, but it isn't even about the fact of it coming from Florida to Broadway. That actually moved pretty quickly.
It came from Florida.
It came from the swampland. No, but you were working on this, starting when?
Well, I've been working on and off on it since I was, a child practically.
Okay.
Since my late teen years. And so that was quite a long time ago.
We needn't say how many, but...
The late 80s was about when I first hatched the idea. But it was really a hobby for many years. I just wrote a few songs, kind of inspired by the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked a full-time job for, 13 years here in New York. And so it's kind of hard to do something like this unless you can really devote your full time to it. And it was only recently that myself and my producers were able to really, really say this is what we were going to do. And then it actually happened rather quickly when we started to raise money in the last couple of years.
And the idea initially was to try it out in Florida or other different places, or?
Well, that came about because we met a director that we were working with, and he became the artistic director of the theater down in Florida. So that's how that opportunity came about. So it was just, good timing for us, and it was a nice place to have our first production.
And audiences responded very, very well down there, and the critics were also quite supportive.
Yeah, they were great.
Now, what did you learn from doing it there that you then, maybe brought to or changed on the way to Broadway?
Well, we learned that we did not want to diverge too much from what had seemed, to work so well down in Florida. We heard a lot of differing opinions about, Florida is different from New York, and perhaps you shouldn't, take that too much to heart or not. But we really felt that people are people everywhere, and what people were responding to down in Florida was likely going to work, as well in New York. And we've been very fortunate to find out that has been the case. In fact, the audiences here are responding more positively to the show than they did in Florida, if that's possible.
Was the process, obviously the money's kind of different, but was the process different of mounting it out of town from what it was to put it all together so quickly, really, once you start to load in?
It wasn't too much different. We had, pretty much the same team we did in Florida, which was great, and it was just, a matter of doing it. Of course, we were doing it down in Florida. We were working with a theater that had not put on a production of this size before, an original musical. They're a repertory company that do mostly classics, and they do it with a repertory company of actors. And we brought in a lot of actors from New York to play a lot of the leads. So that was unusual for them. But now that we're, coming into New York, we're doing it with, a seasoned production team and a crew and the theater owners that, have done this many, many times before. So it's really kind of old hat for them. So it was really not not too difficult.
Let me ask a question that maybe some folks have been afraid to ask, but it is the elephant in the room. So let's pull the elephant by the tail and do whatever else you do to elephants to rouse them.
I love elephants.
Well, yeah, actually, they're I wouldn't want to be stepped on by one, but the you, I assume, are familiar with Les Miserables, the musical. You've seen it?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Did you not realize that, at the very least, critics, and certainly I'm sure some audience members, would point at what you're doing visually as much as the piece itself, and go, Boublil Schoenberg, Les Mis?
You know, it actually never occurred to me when I first started working on it. It never occurred to me until other people began to bring it up later on, because, frankly, I mean, Les Mis, the book, and Tale to Cities, the book, were written within a year of each other, published within a year of each other in England and in France, and they've coexisted quite nicely in the world of literature side by side for 150 years, and no one ever made any comparisons between the two books.
Wouldn't it be funny if they did, though, and we just don't have the newspapers of the day?
That's possible.
Oh, Victor Hugo, you're just copying Charles.
Right. Right, and it is funny because Dickens did write it first.
Oh, sorry. Well, you know what I'm saying.
Right, no, that they might have said that, but I've never seen anything like that, and so I was kind of blindsided by that, because it never occurred to me that people would think, because there was one fabulous story that had already been musicalized, that another fabulous story from the same period couldn't also be musicalized.
Oh, well, no, but also, come on, let's be fair. I mean, you've got the big set pieces that are very impressively turning, and then your first act ends with all the peasants having a revolt in a march step song. My only of suggestions I would have made just to appease the naysayers would be break the two acts somewhere else, so that you would have gone from that into another scene, and you wouldn't have given these people a full 15 minutes on their way to the bathroom going, oh my God, you know, can you hear the people singing the songs of Angry Men? I
suppose we could have done that, but it didn't seem like that would be true to the story. You know, that's where Dickens broke his second book. You know, that is the story, that is the climax of you know, the character going back to France in the midst of this revolution happening, and it just didn't seem like it would be true to the integrity of the story. And I'm not going to do a Tale of Two Cities and run away from the French Revolution and pretend that that's not what the story is about.
Right, of course.
And of course, this is the real French Revolution, as opposed to in Les Mis, which
the student revolution,
student uprising 40, 50 years later.
Good point.
They really are two entirely different stories in two entirely different time periods, and it's just kind of hard to say revolution and France, and
there you go, yeah,
and not have people say Les Mis, even if it's not historically accurate. But
well, if someone comes along and does a musical about hippies, the first thing that critics are going to jump to is, oh, Hair.
Right.
It's just a question of how closely that show would resemble. But even if it doesn't resemble it that much, Hair's going to be the signpost, and anybody trying is going to have to be up against that. It
is kind of an unavoidable elephant, as you say. But there's so much in A Tale of Two Cities that is completely not like Les Mis, and it's a shame that people want to focus on this one smaller element of the story that is very necessary to the story, of course, but it's not really what the show is about or what the story is about.
We are talking with Jill Santoriello on the Inside Broadway segment of Dave's Gone By, running a little bit of overtime, but having so much fun, we're not going to stop yet. You have a few more minutes with us?
Yeah, I do.
That'd be great. That's thanks for staying up so late with us in the neighborhood on WGBB Freeport and live streaming on the web at AM1240, WGBB.com. Have to do a little bit of legal stuff right there. So you knew, though, what the critics... Does that mean you read the critics, or you didn't read the critics and you just kind of got a sense of what they were saying? Or how do you respond, you know...
You mean recently?
Well, over the past 2 weeks, in other words, when they came out, did you read them? Okay.
I'm silly enough that I read everything.
Oh, dear, okay. It's not like you can change things in a $13 million musical.
No, yeah, you can't really.
But, so, what do? You take a shower and it's just, well, that's what they thought, and water under the bridge. How do you not take it personally?
You dust yourself off.
Yeah. No, seriously, it's not easy.
A song from a 60s musical and you start all over again. It's disheartening because there's a lot of cynicism in what they write. I wouldn't mind necessarily people being negative, but then to imply what my motivations or my thinking was in writing the show, when I was really doing my best to be faithful to the source material, and that is what the story is. And so that's a little disheartening.
Well, what was the nicest thing either a critic wrote about you or something that an audience member told you about the show?
Well, the audience members the next thing they say is, what the heck show were the critics watching?
I heard that coming out of the theater, by the way. I did hear that. We've
gotten a great deal of that, and that's wonderful, and that's, there's nothing that feels better than that, because that's, and it's not just my mom and dad saying that. But there were a lot of really positive reviews, and that you take everything with a grain of salt. You just have to keep trying to get the word out there, and having the audience feedback be as strong as it is. We're just trying to grow the audience and get the word out about the show, that maybe you shouldn't necessarily listen to what you read, but maybe listen to your friends or people who've actually seen the show and might have a completely different take on it, which many people have.
So how are you and the producers approaching that? You have a show that that a vast majority of the audience really likes, not just sits there and applauds politely and kind of likes it.
Yeah.
They really,
they
stood up. They were
cheering.
Yeah, and I was there. Okay, this is not just you talking up your show. I mean, I was there. I saw it. Audience members really like it. So how do you translate that to going from whatever you're currently selling? I don't know if you're doing what, 500-600 a week. What your last week's grosses were, or
oh
what?
Gosh, I'm not sure. I mean, things have been really tough for all the shows.
Yeah.
In these last few weeks, and there are going to be some tough weeks ahead. So what we're basically doing is what we've done all along. How we got here in the first place was a very grassroots, very family-oriented effort. We don't have any big film studio or production entity behind us. It really just started with, Ron, Barb, and Jill in New Jersey, trying to, Mickey and Judy plus, just trying to bring a show to Broadway, just with this big dream. And now we have a whole family of, investors and investors' families and the production, all the people involved with the production, and everybody's just basically trying to spread the word in a very grassroots way. And we have audience members that go out every night and say, I will go and tell everyone I know to come and see this show.
And people should know that there's a bit of violence in the show. There's there's a love story, a romance,
right.
But there's nothing that you can't bring the kids to, which leads to where are the school groups? Are you going after those?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so ideal for kids, and kids have been loving it, and that's been the thing that's really gratifying, because I kind of never expected that when I started it.
Really?
I didn't necessarily think about who it was going to appeal to. I just wanted to tell this story, and I was hoping it would appeal to people, but I was not thinking bigger picture when I was an 18-year-old kid just doing this in my living room. And that's been really great, is to hear the teenagers that come and really love the show, and you think maybe because it's thought of as a classic, or this dusty old book, which it really isn't, but sometimes that's the perception. It's really great that they're loving the show so much and going out and telling their friends.
Now, the other question is, after working so long on that particular project, what's next? Is there something in the drawer? You can't even think about writing another show at this point.
Well, you know what? The job and the work goes on right now, because we still really, really need to work hard at building and finding and reaching an audience. And this show is not done, in any.
Well, are you a co-producer of the piece, or
no? Not officially, but anything I can do to help. Help the production keep growing our audience and reaching people. And so I'm at the theater, practically every performance and meeting and greeting people and thanking them for being there. And
have you gotten a CD out yet? I don't think so.
No, we're going to do a recording hopefully at the end of October. We're looking at some dates to do our original cast album at the end of October, and we're going to do that as quickly as we can.
And by the way, let's give some props to the folks. One of the reasons that the show is so popular with audiences is that they like the people that they're seeing up on stage.
Oh, the cast is amazing. It's the greatest, group of singing actors that I've certainly heard on Broadway in a long time. They're really beautiful voices.
Absolutely. You've got Brandy Burkhardt playing Lucy Manette.
Yeah, great. Her Broadway debut, and she's it's her first Broadway show, and she's amazing.
And Greg Edelman, who's done a dozen.
Greg Edelman's done a million things, and he's wonderful as Dr. Manette.
And then you've got Aaron Lazar. Is it Lazar?
Aaron Lazar, yeah.
Excuse me. And then James Barber, who is winning, the swooning leading man guy.
Just terrific. I mean, he's just the perfect, marriage of an actor with a role, and I could not ask for, a greater embodiment of this great character of Sidney Carton that Dickens created, and Jim is just amazing.
Now, that does bring up a slightly smaller elephant. Was there a point when you had to worry that you might have to let him go because of the trouble he was in?
We never really considered doing anything like that. I mean, it was just, he's part of the family now, too. He's been with the show for 4 years. He's been incredibly supportive. The show is about those kinds of themes.
Come to think of it, yeah.
It was just, it's just like, you don't turn your back on people, and you don't, and we know Jim, and he's a good friend, and his personal life is his personal life, but.
Right. And there was no thought of chopping something else off besides his head, no.
It's just not, it never really entered into the conversation. We just wanted to do the best thing for everybody.
Cool. And so, are you even thinking tour yet? Because that obviously, just getting on Broadway allows you to think in terms of touring as well.
Right. I think there's some early conversations about that. Yeah. There's already a great deal of interest from other countries. Our very first preview, we had people from Japan that wanted to
all right.
show over there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that we're looking into.
Well, I want to, first of all, thank you so much for visiting the neighborhood on a Sunday night.
Thank you,
late
Dave.
Sunday night. Wish you best of luck with the show, with the upcoming CD. And if you had to boil down the reason people should, in this economy, with everything people are worried about, and then also fall and winter coming up, why people should go to Broadway and see A Tale of Two Cities.
Well,
why?
This is a show that's actually a chance for a few hours to really escape what's the real world, escape to another time and place.
That was more horrible than our own.
But also the ultimate message of it is very uplifting and about redemption and change and second chances and that people are basically really good, in the light of in the light of really bad times. So it really makes people feel good at the end, and it's a nice escape. And there's actually a lot of humor in the show, believe it or not.
I will second that. I mean, it gets laughs, and it's the sarcasm of especially the lead character of James Barber.
Right.
He plays that very, very nicely.
Right.
So thank you so much, first of all, again, for playing very nicely with us in the neighborhood, Jill. And everybody, go see A Tale of Two Cities.
Yes, come see our show.
And thanks again.
Thanks a lot, Dave.